Good day, everybody. It's Kobe Pope, owner and creator of Wolf Self Care Products. Happy Mag Facts Monday. We are on the topic today of, I believe, anxiety, depression, and sleep. So, here are the three things we need to know about magnesium, anxiety, and depression. Number one, magnesium supports our adrenal glands, which are overworked by stress, leading to combined magnesium deficiency symptoms and adrenal exhaustion symptoms of anxiety, depression, muscle weakness, fatigue, eye twitches, insomnia, anorexia, apathy, apprehension, poor memory, confusion, anger, nervousness, and rapid pulse. Number two, serotonin, the feel-good brain chemical that is artificially boosted by Prozac, depends on magnesium for its production and function. Number three, magnesium deficiency has been strongly linked to sleep disorders, which can cause or increase anxiety. All right, so we're going to go on adrenaline, waste, magnesium. Adrenaline is an unstoppable accelerant that gets you all revved up with no place to go. Stress causes magnesium deficiency, and a lack of magnesium magnifies stress. It's shown that it decreases magnesium as well as calcium, potassium, and sodium. When you are in a revved up state and burning adrenaline, you are also burning up magnesium. Okay. I'm talking about somebody and their lack of magnesium that was the cause of somebody's panic attack. When blood sugar or glucose is low, the body reacts with the surge of adrenaline to bring glucose levels back to normal in order to keep the essential nutrient fuel in the brain. Adrenaline acts to speed the heart and retrieve glucose from liver storage. Some people perceive a normal adrenaline rush as a panic attack. Interestingly enough, magnesium is also a requirement for proper blood sugar control. Women tend to pay attention to their feelings and interpret symptoms such as panic attacks as signs of emotional imbalance for which they seek support. The support they get, however, is often in the form of prescription for anti-anxiety drug instead of sound advice to eat a balanced diet, exercise, and take the right balanced supplement. Magnesium deficiency itself, even in the absence of erratic surge of adrenaline from the adrenal glands, can be an underlying cause of anxiety depression, as determined in several clinical trials. Symptoms of chronic magnesium deficiency include anxious behavior, hyperemotionality, apathy, apprehensiveness, poor memory, confusion, anger, nervousness, muscle weakness, fatigue, headaches, insomnia, lightheadedness, dizziness, nervous fits, the feeling of a lump in the throat, impaired breathing, muscle cramps, including leg cramp, a tingling or pricking or a creeping feeling in the skin, rapid pulse, chest pain, palpitations, and abnormal heart rhythm. Even hyperventilation that may accompany anxiety can further drop magnesium levels. It's fairly safe to say that the flood of adrenaline that occurs in the body during periods of acute stress can cause you to experience anxiety and panic attacks. As the stress becomes chronic and your adrenal glands are depleted, you fall into a state of depression. And then we go on to chronic stress. When the adrenals are stimulated to release adrenaline on a constant basis due to long stress, they can become depleted and release adrenaline. And the release of adrenaline can become erratic. Some alternative medicine practitioners call this adrenal fatigue. However, okay. The adrenal glands produce stress hormones. One is called norepinephrine, which acts like adrenaline as short-term stress hormone. Another is cortisol, a steroid hormone, and a glucocorticoid class of hormones. Humans produce it in the middle or zona fasciculata of the adrenal cortex within the adrenal gland. It is released in response to chronic stress and low blood sugar. Elevated cortisol is an indication of chronic stress. Production of both norepinephrine and cortisol cause depletion of magnesium, and both can be active at the same time. Chronic stress can come from feeling insecure and threatened, or from exposure to toxic chemicals, heavy metals, and even loud noise, all of which assault the nervous system and overwork the immune system. For example, in one study, constant loud noise in an industrial work setting induced a significant increase in serum magnesium and significantly increased urinary excretion of magnesium, which lasted for 48 hours after exposure. On to the next topic, we got magnesium deficiency anxiety. When your body is stressed, which can happen for dozens of reasons, your magnesium reserves dump this crucial mineral into your bloodstream and immediately become one of the people blessed with the ability to cope. You're both calm or alert, your friend and relatives think it's just who you are, but it's really just how much magnesium you have in your reserve. If the stress continues and you don't replace magnesium between episodes, your magnesium stores become depleted. And then when you're faced with the next stressor, your stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, cannot activate your magnesium reserves with this consequent calming effect. Instead, adrenaline revs up. Fight or flight. Okay, it says millions of people try to unsuccessfully cope with their problems by taking pharmaceuticals or through addictive behaviors such as overeating, cigarette smoking, alcohol abuse, or use of street drugs, among others. We are a nation suffering a 32% incidence of anxiety, depression, and drug problems. Instead of treating stress reactions properly with magnesium, each year millions of people are introduced to the merry-go-round of psychiatric drugs and psychological counseling for symptoms that may be rooted in magnesium deficiency. You are stressed out, not sleeping, tense, irritable, and don't know that simply taking a good magnesium supplement can pull you out of that downward spiral. All right, now they're talking about some situations with people. Okay, now they're talking about a study showing that magnesium deficiency can induce the brain to become hyperexcitable, shown in EEGs. Talking about neurons in constant firing mode. Can't turn off because there's too little magnesium to repel calcium, which is firing the trigger, and the neurons keep firing until the cell collapses. Studies show that studies shown. Okay, now they're talking about recommending twice the RDA for people with magnesium deficient. Each time you experience any kind of stress, your magnesium stores are tapped to minimize stress reactions to keep the body's thousands of enzyme processes active. This magnesium depletion itself stresses the body, which can result in panic attacks, causing even more stress. Not only do you overwork adrenals, your overworked adrenals cause magnesium depletion, but even more adrenaline is released under stress. If your magnesium levels are low, you feel even more irritable, nervous, edgy, or ready to explode. During stress reactions, calcium is also required to simulate the release of adrenaline, but calcium excess can cause a flood of adrenaline. However, having sufficient magnesium will buffer this excess calcium and keep it within normal levels, limiting the stress response. Magnesium is important because it naturally diminishes the excitability of the nervous system and lowers the level of calcium around the nerve cells. This function of magnesium is also significant in heart disease and other stress-induced illnesses. Magnesium regulates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Okay, now we're talking about magnesium deficient depression. People do not develop anxiety, panic attacks, or depression because they have a deficiency of Valium or Prozac. Our bodies do not require these substances for essential metabolic processes. However, we can develop a myriad of psychological symptoms because of the deficiency of magnesium, a nutrient our body does require. Doesn't make any sense to merely switch our addiction from sugar, alcohol, drugs, and cigarettes to prescription medications without looking at the possible underlying metabolic causes. Anxiety and depression are often nutrient deficiency diseases, and chemical sensitivity certainly not drug deficiency disease. A remarkable study of almost 500 depressed people by Drs. Cox and Shealy found that a majority of sufferers were magnesium deficient. Magnesium is important in the serotonin store because it is a necessary element in its production as well as release of uptake serotonin by brain and gut cells. With proper amounts of magnesium, nature makes sufficient serotonin, and you experience emotional balance. But when stress depletes magnesium, a vicious cycle spins out of control and depression can occur. Deficiency of magnesium can cause depression, behavior, and personality changes, apathy, irritability, anxiety. SSRIs create artificial elevated levels of serotonin in the body, preventing its breakdown and elimination. Serotonin lingers longer than brain and theoretically causes mood elevation. This is supposed to happen on paper, but everyone has different reaction to the manipulation of his or her brain chemicals. For some people, prolonged rising levels of serotonin can liberate. All right. For others, the drug can lead to anxiety and irritability. A small but significant group can feel relief from their apathy is just as long enough to act on suicidal or homicidal thoughts. Another group tend to have flattened moods in which they can neither weep nor laugh, keeping them from extremes of depression or mania, but relegating them to a one-dimensional life. Okay, now we're going on sleep and magnesium. We teach sleep for granted until we start losing it. There are countless causes of insomnia, many of which are either due to magnesium deficiency or treatable with magnesium supplements. This list includes numerous medications: caffeine, alcohol, heart disease, pounding heartbeat, nighttime cortisol surges, restless legs, pain, hormonal shifts, fear, stress, anxiety, heartburn, constipation, depression, dementia, OCD, ADHD, arthritis, and poor recovery from exercise. Insomnia is actually one of the first symptoms to be alleviated with magnesium therapy. There's a saying in magnesium circles that the mineral is so effective that if a person complains that magnesium isn't helping them sleep, then they just haven't taken enough. Okay, magnesium releases or relaxes tight, twitchy muscles so you can reach a deeper level of sleep. There are many other mechanisms. GABA is the main inhibitory neurotransmitter that is of the central nervous system, and so activation of GABA receptors favors sleep. Magnesium bonds to GABA gates and increases their effects. Research on magnesium in sleep shows that oral magnesium reverses age-related neuroendocrine and sleep EEG changes. Magnesium supplementation improves magnesium deficiency symptoms and inflammatory stress on older adults over the age of 51 with poor sleep. Magnesium reduces heart rate response to sympathetic nervous stimulation to exercise and sleep problems. Two studies show that chronic sleep deprivation reduces intracellular magnesium, increases heart rate, and raises plasma catecholamines. A study found that dietary magnesium deficiency decreases plasma melatonin in rats. And it talks about restless legs, diet advice for anxiety and depression, eliminate alcohol, coffee, white sugar, white flour, gluten, fried foods, and trans fatty acids found in margarine, and baked, fried, processed foods made with partially hydrogenated fats, eat animal protein, choose organically raised grass-fed beef, free-range chicken, eggs, fish, for vegetarian protein, fermented dairy, lactose-free cheese. Vegan protein choices include legumes, gluten-free grains, nuts, and seeds. Eat healthy carbs, such as a variety of raw, cooked, and fermented vegetables. 2 or 3 pieces of food each day, including 3 grains. Include magnesium-rich foods listed in Appendix A. For fats and oils, choose butter, olive oil, flaxseed, sesame oil, or coconut oil. Okay. Sleep aid. Stress relief. Exercise is excellent for the alleviating both anxiety and depression. Try walking, biking, yoga, Pilates, T-tap. Magnesium in musicians. One case with sound-induced magnesium deficiency became evident to a parent talking to me. She realized. Okay. Exposure to loud music can increase urinary excretion of magnesium, which lasts for days after exposure. Therefore, you should replenish your magnesium storage if you are a musician or go to concerts, whatever. Hold on. Magnesium deficient kids. It is not just adults who can get anxious because of magnesium deficient lifestyle. Our children are susceptible when their favorite foods are magnesium deficient: hot dogs, pizza, and soda. The stress in their lives from peer pressure, bullying, academic and athletic performance pressures, worries about body image, and changes in hormonal fluctuation of puberty, and exposure to negative events and violence through the media all contribute to magnesium deficiency. As a note, burning off steam by playing in a band can be a risk factor. Children are undiagnosed when it comes to magnesium deficiency. They develop magnesium deficiency for the same reason adults. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, autism, juvenile delinquency, childhood depression are associated with magnesium deficiency, and some say these conditions are caused by it. Okay, there's one study saying that hyperactive children need extra magnesium due to their constant high adrenaline levels. And that is it for the topic. So thank you for watching. Happy Math Facts Monday. You know the shop for the best supplements, www.wlfclfcre.com. That is all for anxiety, sleep, and depression. Thanks for watching. Shop with me. I take care of you. I've taken in the last 3 weeks, about 20 to 25,000 milligrams of magnesium, which is not normal because the RDA for man is like 400 milligrams per day. So within 3 weeks, that's what? That's only 21,000 milligrams? No. 2,100. Anyways, I'll put the math up here. My math's not good right now, but fuck it. Thanks for watching. Peace.